Some people can't be matched with just a swipe. Some stares follow you all the way home, even after you've locked the door. And some people, once they enter your life, never leave. Tonight, you'll hear 3 stories. No blood, no ghosts, but they'll make you look twice at your closet and wonder, when was the last time you checked to see if someone was hiding in there? A 12-year-old girl is followed by a classmate, all the way to her bedroom window. A young man discovers that his ex-girlfriend has been living in the attic of his own house, and a casual date turns into an obsession that never ends. 3 love stories, 3 nightmares, and they all start so normally. If you've ever felt someone staring at you just a little too long, if a single message has ever sent a chill down your spine, or if you simply no longer believe in the idea of normal, hit subscribe so you won't miss the next chilling story. Like the video if you've ever felt like something was just off. And don't forget to comment below which story will keep you up tonight. Welcome to Nightmare Narratives, where the most normal things are the ones that scare you the most. I used to think the worst thing a date could bring was a lukewarm coffee or a boring conversation. I was wrong. The worst is when you let someone into your life because of a smile, only to realize much later that the smile never reached their eyes. I was 22 that year, young enough to believe in good things, and just old enough to think I could spot danger from a glance. But Hunter was different. I met him on a dating app. You know, the kind you swipe right on if someone has clean hair and can spell properly. His profile picture was a sleepy-looking selfie, dim lighting, a half smile, like he'd just thought of something interesting but didn't feel like sharing. I'm not sure what made me agree to meet him. Maybe because he looked normal. The first date was over coffee, a little cafe on a street next to an old library where everything smelled faintly of damp books and burnt waffles. Hunter sat at the back table, nodding when he saw me come in. He didn't wave, didn't smile, just a nod, a slow nod, almost like he was sizing me up. He had a low, raspy voice, like every word dragged itself through gravel. His story was suspiciously ordinary, majored in something I don't remember, used to bartend, now working on freelance projects. The kind of person whose words you can't recall after the fact, only their eyes. The way he looked at you didn't feel like conversation. It felt like documentation, like he was storing every little detail deep in his mind. The date lasted less than an hour. I made an excuse about being busy. He nodded. "That's fine," he said. "I like to keep things tidy too." It was a normal sentence, but the way he said it as if he was the one organizing everything made my skin crawl. I told myself, maybe I'm just overreacting. Maybe everyone feels a little cautious with someone new. Maybe I've read too many horror stories. I went home, got into bed, and tried not to think about the way his eyes had followed me out of the cafe, as if I hadn't really left, as if he was still holding on to me, with that stare. That was the first time, and if I had been wiser, it should have been the last. The second date took place at a dimly lit bar where jazz music drifted like old cigarette smoke. We drank gin, the kind that tastes like dried fruit and regret. Hunter talked more than he did on the first date, about noir films, about misfits, about loneliness in a big city. He spoke in a calm, emotionless voice, but his eyes always seemed to be searching for something just behind me. "Bars like this always feel like stages," he said, taking a sip. "Everyone's playing a role, but not everyone knows they're acting." I laughed, leaned back, and tried to lighten the mood. But something about the way he said it gave me chills, like he was auditioning for the lead role in a play I hadn't read the script for. The date ended with a kiss, quick, dry, emotionless, like an ink stamp on a receipt. I don't know why I let it happen. Maybe I felt awkward turning away. Maybe part of me still wanted to believe he was just a bit odd, not dangerous. I went home, lay still in the dark, and kept thinking about that kiss. Not because it was romantic, but it felt empty, as if I'd just signed something, without reading the fine print. The third date was dinner at an Italian restaurant tucked in an old part of town. He ordered for both of us. "You'll like this one," he said, and I didn't argue. Hunter began asking more personal questions about past relationships, family, and daily routines. Not in a curious or sweet way, but like he was collecting data, as if he were building a profile. "You always turn off the living room light at 11 p.m., right?" he said suddenly. I froze. "How do you know that?" He shrugged. "Just a guess." I laughed, but something inside me curled tight, cold, colder than the untouched glass of ice water on the table. The fourth date was the last. This time, I wasn't excited. I went to the bar with the mindset of someone ready to close a chapter. I ordered water. Hunter ordered alcohol, then another, and another. The more he drank, the stranger he became. Not loud, not slurring, just slippery. Like a glossy coat of paint covering deep cracks. He placed his hand on my thigh, leaned in to kiss me, right at the bar, barely 2 handspans away from a stranger. I pushed his hand away, politely but firmly. He smiled, but his eyes didn't. "Not into public affection, huh?" he said. "Or maybe, you're hiding something?" I smiled back, grabbed my bag, and stood up. "I'm tired. I should go." On the way to the parking lot, he said nothing. But the silence felt like a compressed weight between us. Near my car, he stopped me. "Come back to my place?" His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Number? I'm really tired. I have work tomorrow." He smiled, but didn't step back. "I'll drive you to work." "Hunter," I said, firm now. "I can get home by myself." A long pause. His face stayed calm, but his eyes, for the first time, showed something like anger. He stepped back without another word. I hurried to my car. My heart is pounding, not because I feared he'd do something, but because I finally realized I knew nothing about him. I had no intention of seeing him again. But Hunter had other plans. There are some nights you simply can't sleep, not because of coffee or work or a neighbor's barking dog, but because you know someone is thinking about you, not in a romantic way, but in the way someone thinks about you while sitting in the dark, hands on the steering wheel, just waiting for you to make a small mistake, like leaving your bedroom window slightly open. I started noticing it the night I drove home after the last date with Hunter. At first, I wasn't sure. The headlights behind me looked familiar. The way the car kept its distance, not too close, not too far, was just enough to avoid suspicion, but still made the hairs on my neck stand up. I turned left. The car followed. I turned right. Still there. By the third red light, I saw it clearly. A black Toyota, low roof, faded plates. Hunter's car. I pulled over and grabbed my phone, texted, "Are you following me?" A minute later, he replied, "Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you got home safe." That response, short, simple, was what chilled me the most. Not because he was lying, but because he truly believed that was reasonable. I called him. He didn't answer. My heart was pounding in my throat. I slowed down, turned on my left signal, then suddenly veered right, a turn no follower could predict. Seconds later, I pulled over again and shut off the engine. The streetlight reflected off the windshield, lighting up my frozen silhouette. Then a message popped up. "Why did you stop? Are you okay?" I didn't respond. I typed only one sentence. "Stop. Go home." The car behind me sat still for a few seconds. then slowly turned around. No rush, no panic, as if it had finished what it came to do. I got home. The apartment was dark, with only the kitchen nightlight still glowing. I locked the door, twice, checked every bolt like someone with OCD. I was still shaking. The next message came when I was already in bed. Sorry if I made things weird, I just had a bit too much to drink tonight. Next time, we should just hang out at my place. Quieter, more private. I didn't reply. The next morning, as soon as I woke up, another message waited. Oh no, is the vibe dead? An hour later. 3 hours later. You're really cold, huh? I took a deep breath, picked up my phone and typed, I don't think we're a good match. I want to focus on myself right now. Hope you understand. Then I hit send. I thought that would be the end of it. But Hunter wasn't the kind of person who let go. He replied 5 minutes later, No, I don't understand. You dragged me through 4 dates just to dump me like that? Do you even know how much you owe me? At the very least, pay me back half of what I spent. That's when I sat up straight. Not because of the money, but because how did he know where I lived? How did he know my full name, my house number, my workplace? Like the ones he listed in the next few texts that I won't repeat here. I blocked him, his number, his accounts. I sat in the middle of my room gripping a glass of water. That night, I unplugged the nightlight, pulled the blanket up to my chin, and listened to the wind slipping through the window crack, like a whisper. This isn't over. Some houses are built to make you feel safe. Some rooms, when you step inside, make your heart feel just a little lighter. And some nights, no matter how hard the rain lashes against the windows, you sleep like a baby because you believe no one could ever get past the final lock on the door. But that night was not one of those nights. My parents were out of town. I was alone in the house. And the silence was far too big to be filled by music or lamplight. I was in the attic bedroom, the top floor, a small room with a sloped ceiling, a window facing a row of oak trees where shadows always seemed to move even when there was no wind. I was asleep, and then I woke up, not because of a noise, but because of a feeling. Have you ever felt that? The sensation that someone's watching you in the dark, even though you hear nothing? The feeling that the shadow under your bed is longer than usual? As if it's breathing. I sat up. The phone screen lit up. 3:12 a.m. I hadn't heard anything yet, but I knew. I knew something had entered the house. I slid quietly off the bed, barefoot on the cold wooden floor, trying not to make a sound. I thought about checking, then changed my mind. Number. This was not the time to be brave. I crawled under the bed, phone in hand, switching it to silent. From beneath the hanging bedsheet, I had a narrow view of the hallway. Then I heard the sound of a door opening, not the front door, another door, upstairs, right next to my room. Then, footsteps, slow, deliberate, soft against the carpet, so faint they were more a presence than a sound, like the heartbeat of an old house. A shadow passed beneath the gap under my door. Then, the doorknob turned. The door opened. Someone stepped in. The room sank into darkness. I held my breath, my chest aching from the effort not to make a sound. Someone was rummaging. I heard drawers open, fingers dragging through things, a sock, a notebook. Each tiny sound scraped against my nerves like a blade. Then, he sat on the bed. From under the bed, I saw the shoes. Not sneakers, not dress shoes, old worn-out boots, scuffed edges and frayed seams. The same boots I'd seen Hunter wear on our second date. He just sat there, still, not moving, just sitting. I don't know how long. A minute? 2? A lifetime? Then I heard him whisper, a low, muffled voice, like he was talking to himself. You think you can just walk away? After everything you opened the door for? I clamped a hand over my mouth. My heartbeat was so loud that my ears rang. Then he stood up, walked out. His footsteps faded down the stairs, silent and slow. I waited. 5 minutes? 10? 15? When I felt sure, I used the emergency text feature to message 911. I couldn't call. I was still terrified he might be nearby. The police arrived 10 minutes later. I opened the door and nearly collapsed into their arms. They searched the entire house. No one was there, but every window was open. One of them, in the kitchen, had a streak of mud across the sill. Below it, boot prints. The pattern matched the worn white boots. I told them everything. They wrote a report. I was granted a restraining order against Hunter, but the police said, "There's no solid evidence he broke in. No camera, no clear fingerprints. If you didn't see him, the law can't help much." I nodded. But I knew. I knew I saw him. Under the bed. In the dark. I knew that cheap cologne. I knew the feeling of him sitting on my mattress, studying every breath I took. That night, I slept at a friend's place, but I couldn't close my eyes. You know why? Because every time I did, I heard his whisper right beside my ear, "You already let me in." I used to think the scariest part of being 12 was getting a bad grade or being laughed at for wearing an out-of-style pink jacket. But then I met Aaron, and I learned that real fear can wear the face of a friend. Back then, I was in 7th grade, just a regular girl in a forgettable town, known only for the row of crimson maple trees that lit up every October. That week was our school's Halloween festival. Woodridge Middle School had a long-standing tradition: turned the old storage building at the back of the field into a haunted house, a half-hearted horror maze the students looked forward to every year. And me? I was too bored to go straight home after class, so I volunteered to stay late and help decorate with a few others. We gathered after school and dragged out fake corpses, cotton cobwebs, creepy laugh sound systems. Hung them from the ceiling, plastered them across the walls. Aaron was one of the kids helping out. Small frame, slightly long hair, eyes that always looked like they were off dreaming somewhere. The quiet type you'd never pay much attention to, if he hadn't suddenly started showing up everywhere. That first day, Aaron just held the flashlight, helped tape up a few dummies. He smiled at me twice, a pale, polite smile, almost too robotic. "I'm Aaron," he said, while I was untangling a string of lights that looked like my entire life in wire form. "Jade," I replied, without looking up. He didn't say anything else. But from then on, wherever I went, Aaron was there. Not close enough to draw attention, but close enough to always be in view. I didn't think much of it. That's just what being 12 is like. Everyone's weird in their own way. I just wanted some pizza afterward, and I got it. Cold pepperoni on the dusty floor of the haunted house. It was drizzling outside, and somehow everything felt more magical than usual. Even the broken light in the corner, blinking erratically, made me smile. Aaron ate very slowly. He didn't look at anyone else, just me, but not in the dreamy, teen movie way. It was the kind of stare that makes you feel like you're being studied, like a mouse in a glass cage. I pretended not to notice. That night, I went to bed early, completely worn out. I remember texting my mom, "I'm fine," like I always did, then placing my phone next to my pillow. Right as I was about to fall asleep. Ting. Messenger notification. Sender, Aaron M. I opened it. The first message was one line. "Jade, I need to talk to you." I was surprised. I didn't remember giving him my Facebook. Maybe I accepted a friend request during the Halloween prep rush without realizing it. I replied, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" No immediate response. But then, the typing bubble appeared. 1 dot, then 2, then 3, and it just kept going. So long I thought my phone had frozen. Then the message arrived. A wall of text, no punctuation, no line breaks. Just a flood of emotion spilling across the screen. Aaron said he had noticed me for a long time, that every time I walked into a room, he couldn't breathe, that he had tried to impress me by kicking the ball harder than anyone during gym class, that he liked my hair when I tied it off to one side, that he hated when I laughed with other boys, that I was driving him insane. By the time I finished reading, my hands were cold, not out of fear, not exactly, but because something in his words felt off. A classmate, someone I'd only known for maybe 2 weeks, was writing like he'd been living inside my head for years. I didn't know how to respond. I didn't want to hurt him. Aaron hadn't done anything wrong, not yet. But I also didn't want to encourage whatever this was turning into. Finally, I typed, "Aaron, I don't think we're right for each other that way. I really like you, but just as a friend." I hit send, then lie still in the dark. The nightlight was still glowing dimly. I stared at it, almost wishing it would explode just to break my thoughts. No reply, just that familiar feeling. The one I didn't yet understand, but soon would. The feeling that something had cracked, softly, but deeply. The next day at school, the sky was overcast, and the wind carried the scent of rust from the old track field. I don't know why I remember that smell so clearly. Maybe because that morning was the first time I truly started looking over my shoulder in the hallway. Aaron never replied after I turned him down. No follow-up messages, no online presence, nothing at all. But he was everywhere. During recess, I was sitting under a tree, chewing on a sandwich, when a group of girls from my class ran over, faces lit up like they were about to reveal a huge secret. "Jade, guess what?" one of them whispered. "Aaron told everyone that today you're getting your first kiss." I looked up. "What?" "He said he's going to kiss you, whether you agree or not." I froze. That sentence, told in the playful tone of 12-year-olds, didn't sound like a joke to me. Something about it clung to me, thick and heavy, like the air had just turned solid around my lungs. I left my lunch, got up, and walked straight to the teacher's lounge. I told my teacher. She listened. She nodded gently and said, "I understand. Why don't you stay in the classroom during recess for a few days, just until things calm down?" I nodded. Then I went to the principal. He had the kind of eyes that always looked like they were thinking about something more important. I told him everything. The messages, the forced kiss threat. He said, "We'll handle it. Don't worry." But no one did anything. 3 days later, I found a note shoved under our front door. No envelope, no name, just a crumpled piece of lined notebook paper, folded hastily, its creases wrinkled like it had been balled up and smoothed back out. In a messy black pen, it read, "There's a surprise for you under the silver Cadillac. Go look." I prepared it carefully. It was my brother's car. I crushed the note in my fist. I didn't tell anyone. But that evening, when my brother tried to drive out, the engine wouldn't start. The lights flickered. Then the car went dead. The mechanic came. Couldn't find the problem. "Something's clogging the electrical system," they said, like someone pulled some wires, then put them back in wrong, on purpose. I said nothing, but inside, I knew. I started seeing Aaron in strange places, not in class, but on my walk home, at the corner near the bus stop, behind the tree at the back of the school. Every time I turned around, he was there, not coming closer, not saying anything, just watching, like he could wait for me. Forever. Then the messages started. Every morning when I woke up, Messenger had a new message, from an account with no profile picture, a single letter for a name. "I'll be walking behind you today. Are you wearing the green hoodie? Jade." You look prettiest standing next to locker 203. You should smile more, especially for me. I blocked the account. The next day, a new one, a new message, the same voice, and the details were too specific to be a prank. One afternoon, I heard a soft click behind me while walking home. I knew that sound. An iPhone camera shutter. I spun around. No one. But I was certain someone had just taken a photo of me from behind. I started dreaming about flashes. I started staring longer into the mirror, just to be sure there wasn't a shadow standing behind me. I told an adult. Again. This time, it was the school counselor. She sat beside me, tapping her pen against the desk, and gave me a half smile. "Boys will be boys, Jade," she said. "When they like someone, they do weird things. Really, you should feel flattered. You made someone feel that strongly about you." I looked her straight in the eyes, and in that moment, I understood. No one was going to help me. When you're a kid, you think as long as you shut your window, draw your curtains, and lock your door, you're safe. But no one told me there are people who don't need to come inside to be close to you. They just need to stand there and watch. That night was a Saturday. My parents had gone out for dinner. I was home alone. Fall was nearing its end. The wind had grown colder. The sky darkened earlier, and the house felt quieter than usual. I remember exactly where I was. Sitting on my bed, wrapped in a blanket, holding an old iPad, watching cartoons. The only thing left that made me feel like a kid, instead of someone forced to face a fear no adult seemed willing to believe. Outside, there was the night. And that night, someone was waiting. Around 10 p.m., just as the next episode started, I heard a soft tap, not loud, not urgent, more like a pebble gently hitting glass. I froze, muted the sound, and waited. Tap. Again. This time, I was sure. I slid off the bed, quiet as if the floorboards might betray me. The lights were still on. I didn't turn them off. I didn't dare let the room go dark. But I crept to the window and pulled the curtain open just a sliver, and I saw him, Aaron, standing in the middle of the yard under the hazy yellow light of the street lamp. The glow stretched his shadow across the grass like a long, dark smear. No coat, no backpack, just a short-sleeved white button-up. The same one he wore during the haunted house decorating last week. Same wrinkles, same small black paint stain near the cuff. He tilted his head back, staring straight at my window, as if he knew I was there. His face was pale, expressionless, no smile, no frown, just standing, waiting. I dropped the curtain instantly. My heart thumped so hard it sounded like footsteps inside my chest. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown account. No name, no profile picture. Just one line. "Why won't you open the window?" I didn't reply. 3 minutes later, another message. "I just want one kiss. That's not so much to ask." I gripped the phone tighter, like I could crush it to block out the world. Then came the third message. Longer, less coherent, and colder than any wind outside. "You're not who I thought you were. You think you're better than me? You think you can fool me and disappear? You'll see, Jade. You'll see." I yanked the curtain back open. No one. The yard was empty. No shadow. No footprints. No eyes peering through the dark. Just me. And the feeling that, even if he had left, he was still very close. I locked my door, propped a chair against it, pulled the blanket up to my chin. My eyes didn't leave the phone screen. I didn't sleep that night. And the next morning, when I finally woke up, eyes burning, body aching, I checked my phone. One last message, sent at 3:12 a.m. "I'm still here. You just have to look." I used to think the scariest thing was being watched by someone. But then I realized what's even scarier is telling someone about it and having no one believe you. Monday morning, No rain, but the trees at the school gate were dripping wet, as if something had crawled across them in the night, leaving trails. I was sitting in the principal's office. Next to me was my mom, her hand clenched tight, her voice cold enough to freeze anything it touched. The principal flipped through a notebook, avoided eye contact, cleared his throat. "We can't take action unless we have clear evidence that she's in danger. What more do you need? This girl is being stalked, threatened, standing under her window in the middle of the night," my mom nearly shouted. "We need verification. And the boy, Aaron, he's always been a good student. Maybe his feelings were misunderstood." Misunderstood. That word filled the room like smoke. Misunderstood. Like someone putting their hands around your throat and they say, "Oh, I just wanted to feel your pulse." My mother went quiet. Then she stared directly into the principal's eyes. A stare so sharp even I flinched. "Are you going to wait until something bad actually happens before you do anything?" No one responded. Aaron wasn't suspended. I wasn't moved to another class. No apology. No formal warning. He kept coming to school, still walked the hallways, still ate in the cafeteria, but no one saw him smile again. He grew quieter, thinner. His eyes are getting darker every day. And then, one day, he was gone. Not the kind of gone where someone skips school. Really gone. No one knew where Aaron was. No one had seen him come to school that morning. There was no goodbye, no farewell post. Some students said his parents moved away suddenly. Others said he was sent to a boarding school. A teacher whispered he had mental health issues and was receiving treatment. I don't know what's true. I only know I didn't see those eyes anymore, but it never really ended. I stayed at that school for a few more years, went to class, did my homework, laughed with friends, as if everything had gone back to normal. But I knew the truth. Normal is just a mask people wear when something inside them has already cracked. I started to hate fluorescent lights because they reminded me of the night I saw Aaron in the yard. I never slept with the window open again. I never accepted friend requests from strangers. And if someone messaged me without a clear name, even just to say hi, I blocked them immediately. I never saw Aaron again. But sometimes I dream. In the dream, I'm standing at my window. I pull the curtain aside, and someone is standing in the yard, still, unblinking. I never see the face clearly, but I know those eyes. I lived with them for a year, and the dream always ends the same way. A soft tap against the glass. Tap. We grow up. We learn to lock windows, change passwords, move houses. But some stars, once they've touched you, they never go away. Jade, 7 years later. There's one thing no one teaches you about living alone. Silence at night isn't always a sign of safety. Sometimes it's a sign that something is waiting. I was 25 when I met Sarah, young enough to still believe love could start with a right swipe on Tinder, and old enough to think I could tell when something felt off. I lived alone in a 2-story townhouse in the suburbs, the kind of place where everything went still after 10 p.m. I liked that stillness. I liked the soft hum of the fridge at night, the rustle of wind through the trees out back, and the simple peace of not having to share my space with anyone else. And then Sarah came along. I still remember her first photo. Messy brown hair like she'd just gotten out of bed, a sideways smile, and eyes that looked straight into you like a question that didn't need answering. She messaged first. "Hey, I like the shirt you're wearing in your third photo." Not the usual small talk. She noticed things, and I, like the lonely fool, too used to being ignored, felt something stir in me from that tiny detail. Our first date was at a little Italian place just down the street from my house. I arrived 10 minutes early, nervously fidgeting with the cuff of my shirt because my hands were sweating. When she walked in, the whole room seemed to soften. Sarah wasn't the kind of beautiful that turned heads. She was the kind that made you forget what you were about to say. She was smart, funny, attentive. Whenever I stumbled over a sentence, she'd finish it, like she already knew what I was going to say. I went home that night with a stupid grin on my face. And just as I got into bed, my phone buzzed. "I had a great evening. I think there's something really special about you. Sleep well." We kept seeing each other. Second date, a walk through the park. Third date, cooking dinner at my place. Within 3 weeks, she was practically living at my house on weekends. And I, someone who once thought he loved freedom above all, started getting used to the sound of soft footsteps on the stairs, the faint scent of her perfume on my towels, and long strands of her hair tangled in my comb. Sarah made me think that everything might actually turn out okay. She asked about everything. "Where are you going today? Did you eat? Who just texted you?" At first I thought it was sweet, a kind of caring I wasn't used to. I remember one evening, I hadn't replied to her messages because I was stuck in an online meeting. And then the phone rang. And then the doorbell. Sarah was standing there, eyes red, voice shaking. "I thought something happened to you. Do you know how worried I was?" I apologized. I hugged her. I said, "I'm okay." But in that moment, something tiny flickered inside me. A feeling that I wasn't being cared for, but being checked on. I brushed it off. Because I told myself, love is learning to accept the intensity of another person. Because I had always wanted someone who cared enough to walk into my life. What I didn't realize, it was that Sarah didn't walk in. She moved in. She wasn't visiting. She was staying, whether I wanted her to or not. I used to think loneliness was the scariest thing. But later I learned, some people aren't afraid of being alone because they always bring themselves along, even when you never invited them. It started with little questions, then location tracking, and then I no longer knew where I ended and she began. Maybe Sarah had erased the line long before I noticed. I started feeling something was off around week 6. It happened while I was at Phil's place. An old friend and coworker. We'd hang out on weekends, watch football, eat cheap pizza, and talk about nothing. That night, I left my phone in the other room. When I finally checked it after 3 hours, I saw 16 missed calls, 9 texts, 4 voicemails. The first message read, "Where are you?" Then, "Why aren't you answering me?" Then it escalated. "Why are you lying?" "I know you're at Phil's. I'm coming over." Sarah did come. When she stepped out of the small car parked 2 houses down, I was still holding the phone, not having typed a word back. Phil stood beside me, frozen. Sarah didn't even look at him. Just me. Her eyes cut through my jacket, through my ribs, straight into something softer inside. "You knew we had plans tonight, didn't you?" She didn't raise her voice, but each word felt like fingers tightening around my throat. I mumbled an apology, promised I'd head home. She said nothing more, just turned away. But I knew some part of that night had been marked, like something written in invisible ink. After that, everything changed. She suggested, no, she demanded that we share real-time phone location. "For peace of mind," she said, "so I won't worry." I agreed, partly out of guilt, partly because I thought it would be temporary. It was never temporary. Soon, Sarah knew where I was every hour of every day. She called if she saw me idling too long at the gas station. "Why aren't you home yet?" She messaged if I went to the cafe near my office. "You said you were tired. Why are you at Starbucks then?" Once I forgot to charge my phone and the battery died. 10 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. It was Sarah, soaked from the rain, skin pale. The shirt was clinging to her, but her eyes not wet at all. You think I wouldn't know? I felt scared, not because she yelled, not because she smashed things, not because she did anything loud, but because she didn't. She just stood there, silent, watching, like she was recording every second, to replay it later, to study it like a glitch in the system. I started to feel myself disappearing. The house was still mine, but every object, from the shampoo in the shower, the towels on the rack, even the new shower curtain, they were all chosen by Sarah. She began leaving clothes in my closet, shoes in my rack, photos of us on my nightstand, photos I never printed. She never officially moved in, but somehow she was everywhere. One night I woke up just before 3 a.m. No clear reason, just a feeling that something was off. I got out of bed, walked to the kitchen for water. As I passed the storage room, I noticed the door was slightly ajar. I paused, looked inside. No one. Of course not, but hanging on the hook was my gray hoodie, the one I lost 2 years ago. I asked Sarah about it the next morning. "Did you go into the storage room?" She tilted her head, sipped her coffee. "Why do you ask?" "That gray hoodie. I thought I lost it. Now it's just there." "Oh, I found it behind the couch a few weeks ago. Washed it and hung it up. I figured you just forgot." She smiled, but I couldn't, because I was sure I never told her I lost that hoodie. To love someone is to open a door for them, but when they start opening every other door, even the ones in your mind, love stops being the right word. At that point, you're not living with them. You're living inside them, whether you want to or not. Or people say breaking up is an action, but for some, it's just an idea, and ideas don't go away easily. I decided to break up with Sarah on a Friday night. I remember it clearly. No rain, but thunder in the distance. Every time it rumbled across the sky, it felt like the house was holding its breath with me. I didn't do it face to face. I wasn't that brave. I wrote a long message, gentle, kind, painfully honest. "I think we need some space. You're a good person, but I'm not sure I'm okay anymore." I hit send, turned off my phone, sat in the dark, hands clenched like a child waiting for the last crack of thunder in a storm. When I turned my phone back on, 27 messages. "What do you mean? I don't understand. Are you joking?" No. Then came the calls, voicemails, and finally, one last text. "You'll regret letting me go." I blocked her number, turned off location sharing, deleted Tinder altogether. That should have been it. The first 3 days were eerily quiet. I started to think maybe she'd accepted it. I started sleeping again, eating properly, working better. What I didn't know was that she had found another way in. On the 4th night, I woke up to a faint click, like the dry creak of a rusty door hinge in the wind. I went downstairs. Everything was in place. But there was a smell. Something that didn't belong to me. A soft, sweet floral scent, like the perfume Sarah used to wear. I caught it in the kitchen, on a hand towel. I told myself I imagined it. The next night, I got home late, found the bedroom window wide open, even though I had definitely closed it that morning. The pillow was slightly shifted. The blanket had a strange fold near the foot of the bed. Nothing was missing, nothing broken, but something had been there, like someone had been sitting, waiting, and left just before I returned. I checked all the locks, still locked. I installed a video doorbell, changed the Wi-Fi password, told myself, "You're just being paranoid. No one breaks in just to sit on your bed." But then, Sunday night, I was lying on the couch watching Netflix. It was nearly midnight. I got hungry, got up to make some instant noodles. As the microwave beeped, I returned to the living room, about to hit play, and saw that the storage room door was ajar. I was sure I hadn't opened it. I always closed that door. The hinge was crooked, and if you didn't close it right, it would creak when the wind blew. I froze, then slowly stepped forward, gripping a dinner knife. I pushed the door open. No one. But on the floor, a pink cloth bracelet, the one I'd seen on Sarah's wrist during our second date. A gift from her mother, she'd told me. Something I had never owned. I didn't call the police. I tore up the bracelet, threw it in the trash, and slept in my car that night. The next morning, I came back to the house, exhausted, furious. I changed the locks, installed indoor cameras, opened every closet and searched every corner. No one. Nothing. Except a small slip of paper beneath my pillow. Handwritten, slanted, delicate. Don't do this to me. I don't deserve to be left behind. I've been here, just waiting, quietly. There are some people who don't leave. They just stay in a different way. They don't need to be at your door. They just need to know where you keep your knives. What time do you fall asleep? And the sound the microwave makes when your back is turned. Not all silence is emptiness. Some silences are holding their breath. I called 911 at 3 a.m. The official report said, suspected intruder. But deep down, I already knew who it was. I hadn't woken up from a sound, but from a feeling. The kind of feeling you get when someone's watching you sleep. Not bending over, not speaking, just standing, watching. The room was unnaturally cold, even though the heater was on. And there was a smell, that strange mix of stale skin trapped in a closed space, blended with the cheap perfume that used to cling to Sarah's collars whenever she hugged me a little too long. I turned on the light. Nothing seemed out of place, until my phone lit up. Unknown number, 7 consecutive messages. I miss you. I'm closer than you think. Are you awake? Wake up. I can see you. I grabbed the phone, turned to look at the closet. I don't know why. There hadn't been a sound, no shadow, just a sliver of space. The door, usually shut tight, was slightly ajar, just wide enough to slip a knife through, or a stare. I picked up the kitchen knife from the bedside table. My hands shook. My heart thudded like a hollow drum in my chest. I crept forward, then said aloud, I know someone's in there. No response. I held my breath, put my hand on the doorknob, and opened it. Sarah lunged out like something yanked straight from a nightmare. Her shirt was torn, hair matted with sweat, eyes bloodshot like something inside had cracked open. She screamed one word, "No!" I stumbled back, but not fast enough. Sarah pinned me to the floor. Her arms were like stone. The knife clattered to the tiles, cold, metallic, final. She gripped my wrists, leaned in. Her breath came in sharp, uneven bursts, close enough for me to smell that faint, minty scent I used to love. Don't you get it? She hissed. Everything I've done is because I love you. I couldn't speak. My throat was dry as paper. She picked up the knife, placed the tip right above my collarbone, like she was testing fabric before the first cut. Just a little piece. I want to keep a part of you. I used to be in your heart. Now, I'll take something from the outside. I screamed, not words, just a raw, scraping sound from somewhere deep inside. And then, sirens. Footsteps thudding down the hallway. The door burst open. Sarah shrieked like a wounded animal, backed away, raised the knife at the officers. They subdued her. I sat on the floor, back against the wall. The house felt like a walk-in freezer, even though every window was shut. The police pulled me outside. They asked 100 questions. I only asked one. How long had she been in there? One of the officers looked at me hesitantly. "We found a sleeping bag, dried food, water bottles, and a burner phone in your attic. Looks like she'd been living there for days, maybe a week. She was living right above me, coming down while I slept, eating while I wasn't listening, watching me." No one said anything after that. I left that house the next morning, didn't take anything but my coat and my phone. I never went back. They say jealousy is a sign of love, but I've learned someone can love you so much. They'll live beneath your roof, inside your walls, in the breath you exhale each night. They don't need to be loved back. They just need not to be left behind. When someone lives in your house, you can force them out. But if they've already moved into your mind, there's nowhere left to run. Sarah was arrested. The case was closed under charges of unlawful entry, assault with a deadly weapon, and attempted bodily harm. She was sentenced to prison. No one asked me if I wanted her punished. No one asked if I could still sleep at night. I moved. Got rid of everything I owned, even changed my number, deleted every social media account. I wasn't me anymore. I was a thinner version, quieter, like someone who had survived a house fire. Skin intact, but something inside charred. I thought that was the end. But then, about 2 months later, on a humid night, I woke up at exactly 3:12 a.m., not from a noise, but from a dream. In it, I was back in the old house. At first, everything felt normal, familiar. The rug, the coffee table, the peeling patch on the wall. Then I heard breathing, software, steady. From inside, the closet. I woke up, heart pounding like it had been clutched in someone's fist. My room was empty, the closet door shut, but I couldn't fall back asleep. The next week, I started hearing things at night. Nothing loud, nothing obvious, just something. Enough to wake me from a medicated, heavy sleep that even sleeping pills couldn't hold together. I checked the security cameras. Nothing. I checked the locks. No signs of intrusion. But every morning, a chair slightly out of place. A towel was disturbed. A blank sticky note on my desk. Pristine white, as if someone had written something, then torn it off. I told no one. Who would believe me? Sarah was in prison. Everything was secure. Triple locks, high-end alarm system, full HD surveillance. Only I knew. None of that matters if someone has already lived inside your mind. That night I tried something. I sat in the dark, in my room. Lights off. Phone set to record audio. I tucked into bed. Closet shut. Curtains drawn. The next morning, I played back the file. At minute 47, there was a voice. A woman's voice, whispering, "Do you miss me?" Then, something like a laugh, not loud, but very close. I deleted the file, then threw the phone into the kitchen sink. Then I moved. Again. Now I live in a small apartment, single level, no built-in closets, no attic. No one knows where I am. But sometimes, when I'm watching TV or rinsing shampoo out of my hair or just lying in bed, my eyes drift toward the darkest corner of the room, the one no light ever really touches, and I wonder, how long had she been there before I noticed? Some people come into your life through the front door, some slip in through the windows, and some crawl into the closet and stay. They say, once a story ends, everything goes back to normal. But you and I both know, nothing is ever truly normal after what happened. Some still glance out the window each night. Some still hear footsteps above the ceiling. And some still dream of a pair of eyes inside a closet no one dares to open anymore. If you're still awake, hit subscribe. If you're listening in the dark, give this video a like. And if there's a story you've never dared to share, leave it in the comments. We'll be listening. Until next time, keep your doors locked, turn off the lights carefully, and if you hear a faint knock at 3:12 a.m., don't pull the curtain just yet.